bicycle bell. We're in Copenhagen, so of course you're going to hear a bicycle bell when your time is up. So we're really happy to continue these series of webinars that will continue all through May and June, and maybe also after. And at the end of June, we're going to have the Bright Week from the 29th of June to the 3rd of July, where we'll have actually a summary of most of our webinars, plus some other exciting things. Now that we can't all meet, we can at least meet virtually. So Bright Week from the 29th of June to the 3rd of July. And as always, what we do is co-created by the network, by the people we associate with. So you're welcome to give us good ideas on which angles, what subjects we should cover. Today, we have, as Helena said, a really good and interesting speaker. We have from, partly from Denmark. Cora is from Denmark, Cora VR. We have Sergio Oliveira, who is the business developer at Cora. He will also be my co-host, because luckily we found someone who knows much more about this subject than I do, and so I can actually kick back and take it easy. Then we have from Config Reality in China, we have Mei Su, who is a collaborator at Config Reality. And also Config Reality was the CBC China, Creative Business Cup China winner in 2018 and came to Copenhagen to pitch and did quite well. They have been able to do a lot of interesting stuff that May is going to tell you about. Then we have a company called MAN, and we have two representatives from MAN. We have Maria Engerman and Signe Ungermann, who will also present their case when we get to them. And then at the end, but not least, but last but not least, we have Shang Rong, who had a very important task a little less than a year ago. She was part of the global finals jury for the Creative Business Cup. So if any of you are startups that are contemplating being part of the CBC in 2021, when we run the competition again, Shang Rong can tell you what the tricks are. He's also, a side note, Vice President of Communication and Public Affairs for Microsoft Asia Pacific R&D Group. So I believe you're based in Beijing as well, or are you in Shanghai? I can't remember. But we have these excellent speakers. And now I'll actually give the word to Sergio, who will run this first 20-25 minutes. As always, you're welcome to write comments and questions in the chat. And we will also maybe put in some links in the chat while the speakers are speaking. So now, Sergio, over to you.
Thank you so much, Cosmos. Thanks, Cosmos and Elena, for inviting us over from Cora and for getting this nice initiative going. So my name is Sergio, and I'll just introduce you to Cora in a short while. First, I just want to kick off this webinar by making a quick poll just to see a little bit more about what you guys are up to. So right now in front of you, you should be able to see some questions about, like, if you've ever tried virtual reality, and usually what you associate with the virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality with. So if you could just, like, very briefly just shout out a couple of your opinions, and just so that we can sense a little bit of what is in the room, and we have an understanding of what is your experience, guys, with the immersive technologies. So yeah, I cannot see the results yet, so I think the results are still kicking in.
It's the first time
no problem.
It's the first time it's trying this poll in Zoom, and it's great if we can get it to work. But maybe
yeah.
Should we keep trying?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you guys see it, because I don't see anything myself?
So we just saw the poll, and I think right now, if you're done with the results, if you've got like mostly 36 results or 30 something, exactly, you can just you should end the poll and now just like share it with everybody.
Right.
So, and I still can't see anything. Okay, perfect. So, okay, most of you have actually tried virtual reality. That's perfect. And of course, like most of you have also have this idea that virtual reality and augmented reality, mixed reality, this is all part of entertainment and gaming industry. This is very normal. But I can see here that there's also like people associating this with education, which is perfect as well. And museums. Wow. Okay, this is really, really good. Okay, so for those of you that don't know about what is virtual reality and augmented reality and mixed reality, I'll address that shortly. So let me just share my screen over here very briefly, and we'll get started. So don't worry, you won't be left off. So of this whole webinar, we want to include as many people as we can. So we know that this is a new technology, so it's normal that everybody's still like you still have some people that haven't had the chance to try it. So, but anyways, a little bit about me. My name is Sergio. I've been working at Cora Virtual Reality for over the last 4 years. Cora has a shop in the Meatpacking District in Copenhagen. And the shop serves as an arcade and as a showroom for virtual reality and augmented reality. But we're also at the core a production company. So we're doing 360 videos and 3D animations for virtual reality and augmented reality. And we're working with a lot of different industries, like ranging from healthcare to marketing content, to tourism, museums, education. We're trying to find the value of these technologies inside of organizations and trying to make them not sound gimmicky. So that's a little bit of what of our core. And over these 4 years, we've done over 200 productions and events and workshops to help people get on board with this technology. So when it comes to virtual reality, I think like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, I think like this is the best, like the best chart that you can get to actually understand these technologies. So I'm just doing this small onboarding segment in the beginning, and then I'll jump into some examples. But virtual reality can be like on the digital spectrum. So it's a technology that you put on your head, and it immerses completely your senses, and you're simply shut down from real reality. So you go into this virtual world. So it's as if we can think about virtual reality as a tool that can transport us into other places. So you can think about it as transporting ourselves into, for example, the internet. Now, augmented reality, it's on the other side of the spectrum, where it's based on you seeing the reality around you, so you can still see the world around me. So for example, if I was wearing a headset, I could be looking into this painting over here. I could still see the painting, I could still see the International Space Station over there, but then for example, I could have like an octopus flying around here. Okay, and so it's basically augmenting my vision, augmenting the world around me, and this basically like it's so you can think about it as augmented reality as taking the internet into our world. It's a very simple and oversimplified way of saying this. Mixed reality is the whole spectrum of like playing of how much does this virtual world come into our reality. It could be that it was like just an octopus lying there, but I mean, if the octopus comes out and just like plays around in the room, knows about like the surroundings, it becomes a lot more magical. It becomes a lot more immersed here. So that's a little bit of an intro on a quick crash course into immersive technologies. All right, so I'm just going to talk about two cases that we've worked on at Cora that are related to that have this social component, but also this business development component. So this first one is about CARLSBERG BYEN, and it's about recreating virtual apartments. So CARLSBERG BYEN is this old industrial area here in Copenhagen, and they're basically renewing this whole area to basically create these new high luxury apartments. the apartments were going to take like a long time to be finished. So they reached out to us and said, and asked us like if there was a way that we could use, they could, for example, show the apartment to potential buyers before they were actually built. So basically we used virtual reality. Like we created like these apartments to like in 3D models, and basically we port them into an engine that basically can run, that runs on virtual reality. So basically the idea is like we recreated these apartments that had never been built yet and made it available so that people could actually visit them like as before they're even there. So the really good thing is that like they started getting like a lot of increase in terms of footfall on their showroom, but at the same time it was actually pretty cool because you start having also some people who wanted to, for example, like they had this big tower like this one here in the picture, where, for example, they had different apartments showing the different levels. Like even though that like on the display and the architecture, like they all look the same. It's kind of hard to convey like why, for example, an apartment on the 8th floor is actually cheaper than an apartment on the 21st floor. And the difference there is actually the view. Because I mean, virtually they're sort of the same. What changes is the view. And it's kind of hard to communicate that with actual traditional marketing tools. So what we ended up doing was to actually go over to the site, to the construction site, get a camera on a drone and actually shoot it from different heights, so they can actually see, like, so that we could recreate the whole environment in virtual reality. So you could see in virtual reality different heights. So this is a way to improve a certain business that was already placed, a traditional business, and try to push, for example, the selling point to a little bit earlier in the phase for them. The next case that I want to talk about is the Space Safari one, which we made for Erstel. So Erstel was named one of the most sustainable brands in the world. And basically what they wanted to do was to try and incentivize more people to towards climate action. So they looked into this whole idea about how astronauts have gotten this overview effect, which is this psychological cognitive shift that they have from being in space and looking at the Earth so small and so fragile. So it was a very intensive workload for us to actually having to recreate this whole thing into this whole journey. We partnered up with 4 different astronauts to have them tell the story, to make it become alive. So you can actually hear it from 4 different astronauts and go into space, see the world from a different view, and try to mimic this overview effect. So we wanted to create this in virtual reality, so that we could democratize the experience. And in order to do that, we also wanted to make it so that it was also reach to the right people. So we actually launched the campaign in the Climate Change Conference in New York City, where over 200 decision makers were able to experience the overview effect in virtual reality. But of course, we wanted to reach out to more people, so we ended up like putting the experience both on YouTube and Facebook, so that more people were able to get this. And actually, like the comment section is just marvelous, because people don't really think about this as being something from as an ad. They just simply saw it like as a beautiful piece of content, and that was actually crucial. And some even like started sharing like that they actually felt like that they had to act a little bit faster towards climate change. Like they were non-believers and then like turned into believers, which was actually pretty cool. And over 6 million people got to see this. Now, I think that I have 1 more minute, I guess. And I just want to end with the last note, this is actually something quite cool that I'm thinking that next.
I think you didn't hear the bell, but you actually over time. But just wrap up.
Oh, sorry.
No, maybe the bell was not loud enough.
No, I didn't hear it. Sorry. Yeah, either ways, I think that in terms of near future perspective, I think like one thing that is going to be a little bit of a game changer, it's going to be the evolution of social media augmented reality experiences. So all this augmented reality filters that you see on Snapchat and Instagram. And the real big thing is that like as Facebook is wanting to, for example, make their platform much more into a marketplace, like the possibility of virtually trying on different apparel, for example, different clothes, I think it's going to change a lot the e-commerce business in terms of, for example, lowering the return rates of different parcels, and actually making sure that people get like the goods that they desire to, so because they look good on them, and it's going to minimize, for example, the level of pollution made from that. So it's just a small remark, like for the near future, that I'm thinking that it's going to be quite cool. But yeah, that was my note, and I want to end this by turning this, passing the microphone to Mei Cao from Config Reality.
Yeah, can you hear me, everybody?
Yes,
Nice
perfect.
So it's my time now. So I will first show a short video to start with our recent project, and I will share my screen now. Can I share my screen now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's start. Yeah, this is a culture preservation case at a backward area in Shenzhen. Because of urbanization, governments need to demolish this area, but it's a more than 100-year-old area.
Mike, you might want to turn the sound down a little bit. Maybe turn the sound of the video down a little bit.
Really so what can we do? We want to use the VR to culture.
We can't really hear what you're saying. May?
I think we need to mute May because she can hear us and we can hear her. And then we'll have to move on to Man, I believe. And then we'll come back to May. I'll write her in the chat.
We are trying to mute her.
Sorry about that, everyone.
We must have a shaky connection here. But should we...
If you move on with Man, then I will try and get hold of May and tell her what happened.
Super. So, Maria, can you take it away?
Yes. Hello, guys. My name is Maria, and I am the co-founder. I am the co-founder of the virtual reality.
So I can share my screen again.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I am the co-founder of the Creative XR studio, Man, based in Aarhus, Denmark, and I'm here to share a little knowledge to you guys about one of our cases called X-ray fashion. It's this one is a virtual reality installation, an international VR piece we made for the World Bank and their climate organization, Connect for Climate, back in 2018. And you can see a picture of it here. As I mentioned before, it is an installation, which means that it's not just for the vision and the sound, but it's also actually where you walk around with backpacks on and you feel different surfaces, wind and heat and water. And just for you guys to understand a little more what that is and how it looks like, I have a little video. sorry, maybe I forgot the sound. But it's just music, so it's not saying anything that I won't say later. Okay, so that was just this quick little video showing what it was. So as I mentioned before, you walk around in an installation. So this whole project started out with the question, what can VR be used for when people want to put focus on a climate issue? And this was the question that the World Bank group and Connect for Climate were asking us. And from previous experience and what we do at MAN is that we create creative experiences, and very much within the exhibition and installation field. And one of our previous projects called Separate Silences, we had really tried to push boundaries with physical effects included in VR and how people receive those kind of experiences. So obviously we wanted to continue down that road with an installation. Climate issues, usually these kind of things happen very far away, and we could choose some of the traditional melting glaciers or burned down forests, but we realized that some climate issue is very close to all of us and is something that we all have an opinion on. It was the fashion industry. And that's also what this experience is focusing on a lot, is to show the darker side of the fashion industry. And then we wanted to portray it in installation so people could actually see these kind of places. When you work with VR, and it's a lot about experience, that's also why we're here today, experience technology, and a model that we usually use when working with projects like this is this one. It's called the psychological structure of experience. It's by a Danish researcher, Christian Jensen. And it's not specifically for VR, but it explains very well what happens within us when we experience something. So the first thing that happens is that our body is affected by the experience. Our pulse is racing as we get excited or scared. And obviously that changes our emotions. That's the first step here. We get happy or sad when we experience and see something. And then in the back of our head, we start thinking and wonder about what we're feeling and comparing them to other aspects of our lives and our habits. And then Christian Jensen says that if an experience is powerful enough, it can actually go in and change your whole personal identity. So obviously when we talk about the fashion industry, we really wanted to, we have read so much about it. There's also a wonderful documentary called The True Cost on Netflix that focuses specifically on this topic here. And that was a powerful experience for at least me and my business partner, Sine. So we wanted to really portray that into a VR experience and make people really feel horrible about the fashion industry and showing these places, which VR obviously is very good for. But we knew that we had, in order for people really to truly take the message to heart, we needed to have them have a really powerful experience, because in that way, that would be the biggest chance for them actually to change their habits towards buying fashion. And in order to do that, we wanted to really give people a feeling of not just seeing and hearing about it, but also really feeling like they're there. So for doing that, we used this theory called the sense of embodiment by British researcher Mel Slater, now based in Barcelona. And the sense of embodiment is a theory that explains how we as human beings are feeling present within a reality. And there are 3 components in all, but the ones that we focused on for X-ray fashion is the 2 of them. The first one called sense of self-location. This one refers to one's spatial experience of being inside a body. So usually as humans, we are used to, when we look down ourselves, we see a body, and I really hope that all of you see a body when you look down yourself. So seeing is believing, and naturally we would feel a bigger presence when we see a body or a representation of ourselves. That will create a bigger feeling of presence within a piece. So what we did with X-ray was that we had a shadow following you on the floor. So, and you can just see it briefly there. So you kind of felt like you were present at the same in the experience. And also we also used the characters in the film that really looked at you and talked to you for increasing this feeling of actually being present within that reality. The other one that we mainly used is this one called sense of body ownership. This refers to all the visual and tactile inputs that we feel on our bodies. So obviously, if we see something and feel it at the same time, it will increase our feeling of presence within reality. And we really used this, so as I mentioned before, it was an installation. So people walked around, they stepped into water when they were seeing a disgusting sewer in India, where they could see how polluted the water was. They also, when they sat in the sweatshop, they could feel the heat from the hot environment and really feeling these terrible working conditions on their own bodies. And so just, lastly, this experience we have been very fortunate to do it together with the World Bank and Connect for Climate. So we also had some wonderful opportunities to travel around the world and showing this experience. We had shown it at the Venice Film Festival, where it premiered in 2018. And then we also been showing it at a UN assembly in Kenya, and we've been showing it at a month in the Qatar museums, and in Los Angeles and Las Vegas in different fashion conferences. And we've just been really lucky to see the reactions of people. Because you might have this question, does this actually make a difference for people working within fashion or consumers? And you can read some of the reactions up here. We also have seen all the kind of reactions that's out there. We've seen people crying when they come out, people talking or whispering to the workers when they are in VR saying, I'm sorry to do this. And we also have people writing us weeks after when they come out of the experience on LinkedIn or other private messages where they say that this has really made an impact on them. And this is for everyone. It's just not for consumers, it's also for upcoming designers, maybe not being aware of it and really starting to think about sustainability within their pieces and work. And we also at some point handed out questionnaires where 8 out of 10 people said that it has changed something within them, knowledge or opinions. So despite that this experience is only 15 minutes long, it's sure to say that this experience has a much longer impact on the people in the audience who's actually trying this. And I think I never had to do this so quickly, but it's very fun. It's been a fun challenge, and I hope it made sense for you guys. If you have any questions, please put on to answer, then I'll try to answer. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And I just wanted to update the audience that unfortunately the internet connection, the internet connection in Shenzhen was too shaky, so it would make sense to try and run the presentation, but we'll send Config Reality's presentation to you in the follow-up email. And still, May, you're welcome to try and into the debate later if it makes sense. Back to you guys.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Sergio.
Yeah, Maria, thank you so much for the presentation. I was actually you touched upon it later in the end, but I wanted to ask you more specifically if you have any sort of reactions towards X-ray fashion, coming from the actual fashion industry, from any brands, any big brands, because you've been exhibiting, for example, in Fashion Week Milan, and that's basically the epicenter of fashion there. So it's I'm quite curious.
Oh yes, we have shown this experience to so many people and so many brands as well, and it's very different how people react to it. They obviously, sustainability and this whole very sustainable fashion is a big topic within the fashion industry right now, so they are all very aware that they need to change something. So they all, obviously, when they come out, even though it's a CEO from H&M or someone else, they come out and say, yeah, this is wrong. We definitely need to do something. And especially if it is one of these fast fashion companies, they're always like, yeah, but our garment places are not like this. It's good that we are putting focus on it. So obviously, they're all very aware and wants to make sure that they are not associated with it. but yeah, there's so many good comments also for brands who are interested in having it privately shown at some places, and they always, when some of them randomly walk by and try it, they just grab some of their friends and get them over with to try it as well. So they just spread the whole knowledge within them, both if they're small companies or big companies. Yeah, this experience has been received so well.
Awesome to hear. Rasmus, I don't know if you have any questions for Maria, or?
Well, I would like to hear a bit more about this change of personality. What kind of factors do you need to have? What needs to all come in play to have that happen?
Yeah, so this model that I talked about, the zoological structure of experience, it's Christian Jensen's way of telling how do we experience in general, and not necessarily to VR. And yeah, his statement in that model is that the more powerful the experience is, and that's obviously a very individual matters and subject matters. But if I experience something, it can be seeing a film or watching reading a text or seeing a VR experience. If it has really made an impact on me as it being a powerful experience, then obviously I would feel more motivated, and there would be bigger chances for me actually going out and change something within me if I've seen something wrong. So our fears towards this one here is that we can use that model and that knowledge within this VR piece. That's why we incorporated all the physical effects, because we believe that that will increase for making a powerful experience. VR is a powerful medium in itself, but even adding the physical effects, we really had the best chances, we believed, in making people change their habits towards fashion habits.
Exactly. Thanks.
Welcome.
Perfect. Okay, so I think we could just move on to Hongcheng, if you're ready.
Xiang Wang,
Chang
You
Feng?
need to unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I didn't aware of it's my turn. Hold on, let me share the desk.
it's your turn. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Because of the technical challenge, let me see. Have I shared my desk? Not
Yes,
yet.
we can all see it. We can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, cool. Let me show the video, please, first.
Behind every great achievement, every triumph of human progress, you'll find people driven to move the world forward. People finding inspiration where it's least expected. People who lead with their imagination. But in an increasingly complex world, we face new challenges. And sometimes it feels like we've reached our limits. Now, with the help of intelligent technology, we can achieve more. We can access information that empowers us in new ways. We can see things that we didn't see before. And we can stay on top of what matters most. When we have the right tools and AI extends our capabilities, we can tap into even greater potential. Whether it's a life-changing...
Yeah, very glad to have this opportunity to do a webinar during this very special time period with the pandemic, and I'm very glad to have this to thanks CBN to organize this event and give Microsoft the opportunity to introduce Microsoft mixed reality products called HoloLens, and we also leverage the HoloLens to something very important and helpful during this pandemic period. Microsoft HoloLens, we call it a mixed reality, which embrace virtual reality and augmented reality to create a new reality. By understanding your the environment surrounding you and the mixed reality enable holograms to look and sound like they are part of our real world. So it was a kind of combination of virtual and the physical world altogether. So we believe nowadays with AI technology, it can amplify human ingenuity in many ways and in many different dimensions and levels. How does HoloLens transport you to a virtual world? You actually can move freely. It's a very powerful computer, actually. You can move freely and interact with holograms and people and other tools with added benefits of seeing through glasses. The Microsoft's call mixed reality is because the HoloLens is with seeing through lenses that can preserve the real physical environment around you. Yeah. So this is actually this is a case study of Microsoft's current applications in vertical industries. In the very beginning of this webinar, actually the Cora team do a survey, quick survey on how mixed reality or virtual reality technology will be adapted by different industry. Actually, from this short video, you will be easily to understand how each vertical industry from retail, manufacturing, automotive industry, and especially healthcare and education can leverage these new technologies. This slide was a kind of a very simple demonstration of how Microsoft partnering with Philips Healthcare during this pandemic time period, early this January 2020. We actually remotely helped to setting up a new hospital in Wuhan, where is the most serious COVID-19 disease was origin in China. So two hospital was setting up in about a week, actually, which normally would take a very long time. So through distance testing and with the support from HoloLens, we actually be able to implement all the healthcare equipments remotely and put them into use in a very short time period. And we believe this is the most—
Shan, you have 1 minute left, just to let you know.
Okay, yes. So I think that this was a kind of reduced, and also because reduce the travel and reduce also in the same time reduce the risk of cross-infection in the special time period. So I think it was a very fresh, new case study, which really, can deepen our understanding on how technology can really be empowering the new workforce in the new normal, because people all believe after the pandemic, the entire world will be changed into a operated in a very different mode. So I think like Microsoft and many of our employees work from home. So actually technologies can empower the new generation of workforce. Yeah, that's my sharing today, yes.
Thank you so much, Chang Rong. I just wanted to ask you, like, very briefly, like, did you actually see some sort of like, did you measure any sort of impacts of how was it in terms of using, like, what was the impact of using the HoloLens 2 to help, like, set up this hospital in record time, or like, did you have any sort of metrics in there, perhaps?
Actually, this is a partnership with Philips. So we actually were signed an NDA with Philips, and we tried to introduce this case study during Microsoft Tech Summit in China in April. And however, we haven't got a Philips final sign off, so we couldn't share at this moment. I couldn't share some of the details about that, but definitely we will be able to share later on when this project is moving forward further. Yes.
Perfect. But I mean, it sounds like a super interesting case, and congratulations on pulling it off.
Because previously we're always thinking about using HoloLens to doing like maintenance services, right? Doing architecture design. And also in healthcare, it has been used in real operations. But yeah, this is a very interesting new case. Yeah.
Perfect. Rasmus, I don't know if you have any questions in there.
Yeah, I'd like to ask. I've been asking around my friends and family, how many of you actually tried a pair of VR glasses, or how many of you have some at home? And very few people actually have them. Is the HoloLens 2 making it more democratic, so to speak? Is it going to be cheaper or to access for everyone?
Yeah, HoloLens 2 is cheaper and lighter, and but the primary Microsoft HoloLens currently is open to partners first, business partners, for them further to develop vertical applications based on Microsoft HoloLens. For HoloLens 2, we start to have consumer version, but still, relatively it's more kind of for business applications. The HoloLens current market is more for business.
So it's something that everyone can use every day, and not just something we experience at special events or at special occasions.
Microsoft have another virtual reality products. It's another VR products, which will be more like for gaming, for cinemas, for daily life. But HoloLens is more for business. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're 48 minutes in, so we just have a couple of minutes left. What I would like to just hand this over to Helena, perhaps, like, or to the CBN team, to see if there are any questions on the floor from the participants.
Otherwise, we have some that were sent in beforehand.
Exactly.
So that we could access.
I can read out the first one. Great. So, and anyone who wants to answer can feel free. How it adds value to business development and social change in the context of vegetable fruit trading business. And that's asked by Sanjay Shrestan from Nepal.
Cool.
Who would like to answer that?
And Man, and I think actually you have an answer to this.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what the purpose, the end goal is for this question. There's definitely a lot of possibilities for these XR mediums to create value within the food business and the whole. It could be shipping, it could be different other things. It could be about education. If that's the goal of this question here, is it about learning something new. Obviously, you can either have an augmented reality experience that can show different portions or learn about the fruits, or you can use VR obviously to travel within a fruit, maybe being a fruit. We did actually a piece that was for sustainable food, I would say, not spraying with pesticides. We did experience that with that, where you are actually a corn cup in VR. So when you have the goggles on, you look down yourself, you are a corn cup, and then you have your leaves as hands. And then again, we like to work with installations and physical effects. It was about pesticides. So at some point in VR, you're standing at a field, drones are flying over you, spraying you with pesticides, and then in the real world we stand there and spray with water, so you feel that something is hitting your body. And we also put some smell underneath, some chemical smell. So that was just an example of how you could use it within the food industry. I hope that helped a little.
Thank you, Maria.
Absolutely.
Everybody, please ask questions in the chat if you have questions, and we'll take them up. I just want to go through a second one from one of our Danish listeners. Using experience tech like XR, VR, MR, AR, what kinds of didactics is best for educational purposes and higher education? Any best case examples on a global scale? And that's from Lars BYEN, Denmark.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure if there's any global scale kind of example. The closest things that we could have would be, for example, with for example, Labster, which is also another Danish company, that basically they used virtual reality to recreate labs, high-tech laboratories, and make some studies, for example, within with certain universities. And they actually saw that traditional methods of teaching allied to virtual teaching models were actually much more enforced and much more powerful in terms of retaining information for the students. So so I think that was like the that's the closest thing that we have to a global scale. But then we also have, like, on the business industry, where we have a lot of cases within training, and perhaps the one that I can highlight the most would be the one from Walmart in the US, where they have like over I think like 17,000 Oculus Go's that they purchase in order to train their workforces. Oculus Go's is a virtual reality headset, and basically they use like a lot of training scenarios to train their workers on decision-making policies, on how to product placement and other tasks, and deal with clients, for example, even on Black Friday, and so on. But I don't know if my other colleagues, they have any other answers for this one, like any other example, like at a larger scale, perhaps.
Otherwise, I'll go to the next question in the chat from Gemma, from one of our CBC startups, as far as I know. Yeah. Sorry, I just have to scroll up. Yeah, Gemma, maybe you can ask your question yourself. That's more fun.
Yeah, go ahead, Gemma.
Oh, good, I'm unmuted. I was just interested to hear about the business models that are supporting this work to continue, and what is proving successful, because you know, a lot of creative industries struggle in terms of how you're actually raising revenue, whether that's B2C, B2B. I'd just be interested to hear from the panel about what's working in terms of business models for this kind of content.
Sergio?
I mean, I can talk about like the chorus case, for example. We're working virtually upon like many different industries, so that actually helps us to keep relevant and to stay open to different opportunities and projects out there. And I mean, we're working on a project basis. So for us, it's working really well, because we're not just like limiting ourselves to just having one single product and hoping that, for example, the market is going to take off, and we're not waiting like for consumer adoption. We're heading towards like more towards the B2B route. I think that's sort of paying off itself, because I mean, we've been able to grow every year and being able to get like successful partnerships. So we're mainly working as a project based, and after we get like certain projects, for example, this has happened mostly within healthcare, when we see like potential, for example, for creating a project and turning them into an actual product that can actually be scaled and, for example, sold to multiple hospitals without actually spending much more time on product development, then we see like a way for us to go commercially into the product route category. I hope this has made sense, but that's our case.
Yeah, I would also like to comment on, in general, how to make money in VR. It can be a challenge. We are, as I mentioned before, we are a creative studio, so we usually go the other way. What Sergio is talking about is definitely the smart way. Yeah, we are a little more creative, so we love to experiment with these kind of XR mediums and push boundaries of storytelling. We do a lot with. We love to go to festivals. Festivals are a great place to be inspired and seeing these kind of new ways storytelling is emerged within these mediums. And then we try to take that, our new knowledge, and put it into business cases. And yeah, for us at least, sometimes it can be a struggle, getting people to see and understand a concept. For example, with the X-ray fashion piece, how could you ever imagine explaining it has to be a big installation, it fills the whole room and there's a lot of water, they walk in, and wind and heat, and it's going to be great, people are going to love it, but it sounds so fluffy. So for our end, we have two models in our company. We do these kind of business cases where people are coming to us asking, can you do a 360 video for this, or maybe you want to show a product. That's what we see. There's definitely in VR and AR, there's much more money within the education sector and training and healthcare and product showman. And then there's the whole creative business case that is through funding, public funding or art funding, or if you're lucky, yeah, museums. What we strive towards and what we hope is going to work is that we're going to gain a lot of knowledge on how to tell stories and how to get great content. And then when people are done just trying out the basic things, and when the wow factor of these AR and VR experiences is over, then hopefully we are going to be more relevant, because then we know exactly what works well and what's going to be great for storytelling in these kind of experiences. But yeah, this is a tryout as well from our end, but it's just to share a little perspective from our end, yeah.
We have a question also from Boris Vlasian. Do you want to pose it yourself? You can unmute you. I can't. Yeah, there you are. Boris, do you want to ask the question? Or otherwise, I will go ahead. We have just a quick answer on this one. Hi, Boris. Just a quick one. So tell us your question.
My question is, you talk a lot about experience technologies, VR, AR, for something outer things. But my question is there a need on the market to use the same technologies to help an individual to explore himself or herself? I mean, conscious, subconscious mind. So can these technologies help a human to better understand themselves and to start living more conscious life? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, and we all can also read it in the chat. So we have, who would like to give a short 30-second answer? Xiangrong or Sergio?
This is more like a philosophy. Conscious and unconscious. I think how to help people to better understand ourselves. But I think we do see the distinction was merged with online and offline. So I think virtual reality, mixed reality will be a kind of the new reality we are going to face for the new generation. The world in the future, I think the physical world and the virtual world was in convergent as well. So I think maybe this doesn't answer the questions, but I think this was more like in a philosophical level. Yeah, we all need to understand, because Microsoft have a concept called digital twins. So I think this might be in some way echoed to the question is about there is a physical Shangrong, but also in the digital world, there is a virtual Shangrong who might have a better understanding about my intention and yeah, in certain way, because they have a lot of data and also information in hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Shangrong, and thank you, everyone. We are at 10 o'clock in Central Europe, so I'm sorry we will have to close this down. I feel like we're just on the surface of this really interesting subject. But thank you to all our speakers, Sergio Oliveira from Cora, Mei Tzu from Config Reality. We didn't hear much from her, but we will send the PowerPoint presentation to everyone right after. To Maria Engerman, and she was seconded by Sine Ungermann from MAN. And then last but not least, we have from the Vice President of Communication and Public Affairs Asia Pacific R&D Group of Microsoft, Shangrong. Thank you, everyone. And this afternoon, actually, at 4 o'clock, also Central European time, there will be another webinar on play and learn, how we can learn by playing. And you go to, this is CBN, so www.cbnet.com, this is CBN, and then you can see it. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.